lockup. Right now he's robotoing Terry Funk in a bionic elbow. Sends him right out of the ring.
Hello, and we're here today with one half of Harlem Heat, Stevie Ray. Hello, Stevie. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Good. I guess we're going to start the shoot interview off with, if you can tell us a little bit how you're growing up, where you grew up, your home life.
What?
Where did you grow up? What part of the country did?
I grew up in Houston, Texas.
Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Grew up in Houston, Texas, and that's the city I grew up in.
That's the city. Okay.
You know, I'm from a family of 8. I have 4 boys, 4 girls. Pretty normal upbringing, you know what I'm saying? My dad died when I was pretty young. Mm-hmm. My mother raised the rest of the family, and in a pretty decent neighborhood, you know what I'm saying? So, it's normal stuff.
What were some of the sports you played during the young years?
I played basketball, I ran track, I played baseball, I played football, pretty much, throughout starting from about 12, 13 years old till I went to college. Then I dropped out of college and started bodybuilding. And I bodybuilded for several years. And I competed a few times, and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. That was pretty much my adult life.
How was your relationship with Booker as a kid? Were you very close brothers?
Yeah, okay, yeah, pretty close. Mm-hmm. Closer than my other 2 brothers, you know. Yeah, he's my younger brother, so, he was always tagging along. Want to hang out with me and my friends, things of that nature. And so, just doing what older brothers do to younger brothers, you know the deal, tormenting them as much as possible. Yeah. So, but teaching them how to be tough at the same time, Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Were you a wrestling fan growing up?
Oh yeah, big wrestling fan, big sports fan. But I'm the kind of person. Actually, I was a football fanatic, track, wrestling, but my love is auto racing. Mm-hmm. To this day, I still have a passion for auto racing. I mean, football, track, basketball, all those things were great to do, and I'm glad I got a chance to live out, one of them. But auto racing was always something deep within me that I still love to this day.
So that must have been great because you were involved in WCW, and they were big into the NASCAR.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was a dream come true, in so many different ways. How one thing can put you in a position to experience other things that you always loved. So it was a blessing. Yeah.
So who do you remember watching, and who were you a fan of back early in your years?
I think Wahoo McDaniel steps out in mind. Johnny Valentine steps out in mind. Jose Lothario steps out, in my mind. Those are guys I came up watching. But my biggest influence in wrestling was Superstar Billy Graham.
Mm-hmm. And he's here tonight.
Yeah, really. Superstar Billy Graham introduced me to when I wanted to weightlift and have a physique, because I think Superstar Billy Graham probably had the biggest impact, not on my life as a wrestler, but on my life as a guy that wanted to be a weightlifter or a bodybuilder that just happened to get into wrestling, So when I used to watch Superstar Billy Graham, I don't know if I watched him so much for what he did in the ring, but just to see the guy, period. Mm-hmm. I think that was a bigger impact, just to see the guy. And when I finally went down to the downtown Houston Coliseum to finally get a chance to see Superstar Billy Graham, I think I was in the 6th grade. I finally got a chance to see Superstar Billy Graham wrestle. If I'm not mistaken, I think it might have been Wahoo McDaniel. Mm-hmm. Or it might have been Jose Lothario. I can't even remember now, but it was just an unbelievable sight to see this, finally get the chance to see the guy in person, not on television. I'll never forget that to the day I die.
Now, did you used to go to shows a lot with Booker or your other brothers? Or
My brother was a little bit too young then because I was really young. But I went with a lot of my other friends, you know what I'm saying? My brother had moved to live with my grandmother when in those days. So we weren't around each other for a few years. But once he got older, yeah. Once he got older, when he came back to live with us, and then yeah, when he was more of a teenager then.
Okay. How were you introduced to be into wrestling? How did that come about?
Actually, in 1999, Ivan Putski opened a wrestling school in Houston, Texas, and Scott Casey was the trainer. So we said, let's try it out. We met Ivan Putski at the gym we worked out at. And he was over the school, and but the school didn't stay open very long. It wasn't open less than a year, probably.
So it was Putski's school?
Excuse me.
It was Putski's school?
Yeah.
And Scott Casey was the trainer?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then once Scott Casey left, it kind of all went downhill, and Ivan was starting a wrestling promotion at the same time. That, went down here too. So, but it did open our eyes up to a lot of things and gave us a shot, and we were trained by one of the best workers ever, as far as I'm concerned, and we were lucky on that part. Not like guys like today are getting trained by guys that ain't never did nothing, has never done nothing in the business, and I see that kind of stuff, and I was like, wow, we were really lucky, you know what I'm saying, to go to a wrestling school with a renowned, renowned professional wrestler that opened it, and one that was a trainer at the same time. That's unheard of nowadays.
So I guess you started training during that time. Did you? I guess you started before Booker? Or
No, we both started at the same time.
at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay. How did he get into it at that time? Just
Same thing.
Same thing. Just,
Yeah, we met Ivan at the gym we worked out at. Yeah, and he said, hey, man, you guys, I'm opening up a wrestling school. You guys ever want to, sign up for my wrestling school? So we did.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we might have been two of the first people that signed up for the school.
Okay. And what would you do? Little spot shows, I guess, during that time?
Well, actually, like I said, he was starting a wrestling promotion that he was trying to get on local television that it might have stayed on 3-4 weeks before they got lost. They spent up all the money and everything. And then after that, we started doing spot shows and stuff like that with other guys around Houston like Tug Taylor and Tiger Conway Jr. and so on and so forth. And, one thing led to another. And then we got a call to, actually, I got a call to go to Global Wrestling that was on ESPN at the time. This was like 91, I think, 1991.
Just to back up a second, what was your name during those spot shows? I think you had a
Super Collider.
That was your first wrestling name.
Yeah.
Okay. And I guess most of the shows you did around there were just spot shows with other up and coming guy. Anybody in that group that came up with you besides Booker that?
Other than my brother.
Out of that school.
And those shows. Yeah. Other than my brother, I think we were the only two to make it out of that class.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you got a call from.
Then we worked for about this was like 90, I think. 1990, we were doing stuff. And 91, we were working with an organization in Houston called Texas All Pro Wrestling, owned by Delbert Farmer. And a lot of, we had some pretty good local, guys that had to work for Paul Bosch's promotion back in those days, were still around. They would come in on the weekends and help us out. We had a lot of fun. A lot of, being taught by veterans, you just couldn't beat the training, you know what I'm saying? And then like later on, I think it was 91, 92, I think it was 91, late 91. Well, I got a call, I was in an independent magazine, and the people in Global Wrestling seen the picture, and they were looking for heels, and they got in touch with another local wrestler to call me to tell me to come up for a tryout. And at the time, Eddie Gilbert was the booker there. So I go up to get a tryout, but before I did, I told my brother, hey, I think you should come with me. You never know. Just ride up here with me. So it was in Dallas. So we go up to Dallas, and Eddie Gilbert, brings us in the office, and brings me in the office. My brother comes with me. He said, "Who is this?" I said, "Well, that's my brother." And he goes, "Does he work?" "Oh, yeah." And he said, "Nobody ever told me you had a brother." I go, "Yeah, been brothers all our lives." He said, "Oh, wow." He said, "That's okay. Well, you guys come back next week. We'll have another meeting." So I'm like, okay. Well, it sad me. Now I got to go all the way back to Houston. Now I'm thinking I'm going to talk to the guy about getting we come back the very next week, go through the whole thing again, brings us in the office and say, "Hey, I got an idea about I want to do a tag team with 2 African-American guys. You guys think y'all can do that?" At this time, me and my brother had never tagged together. We never wrestled together ever. You know what I'm saying? We was on shows together. I was doing this, he was doing that. We didn't tell a lot of people that we were brothers, you know what I'm saying? And we was like, whatever, whatever it takes to get a shot here, we'll do it, you know what I'm saying? He said, "Yeah, but I want you guys to be clean cut, and I want you guys to use, do good interviews. I want you to talk with correct grammar, so on and so forth. Trying to get away from the stigma of the guy that gives because we had told him we don't do headbutts and we don't dance. That's 2 things we won't not do in this business, And he was like, "Great, because I don't want you to do that anyway. I want you to be well-spoken, well-dressed, and present yourself with, with a good aura." So I say, cool. He said, "Okay, you guys come back next week and get a tryout." So we go home, come back the next week. We got our gear and everything with us, and we get there, and Eddie Gibb was fired. I guess, I don't know what happened. Maybe fired should be the right word, but I don't know. At the time, I guess he was. So I'm like, oh, wow, what are we going to do now, And then who was taking the book at the time? Wild Bill Irwin. Wild Bill Irwin came up to us and go, "Well, I know you guys were promised a job, but that was Eddie's deal as of now. That doesn't mean anything. But we're still going to go ahead and give you your tryout. And but it don't mean you're getting a job. It just, like, oh, well, man, it ended before it even began, you know what I'm saying? But that's how the old mop flops, I guess." So they put us in a tag team. Now, we had never tagged together. But we had practiced in training against each other, because I was always a heel and he was always a babyface. So we had a lot of tag team experience during the spot shows, but not with each other. So we pretty much knew the role. Now we were just doing it together, if that makes any sense. So since I had worked against him so many times, I pretty much knew my role if I was with him. He had worked against me so many times. He pretty much knew his role also. So they put us against this guy. If I'm not mistaken, these guys were called the Wrecking Crew. I'm not 100% sure, but I think their name was the Wrecking Crew. But apparently, they had a lot of heat in Global. We had saw them on TV. We saw them work on television before, and they had kind of like the gothic gimmick going with the big hair, kind of like the big version rock and roll, but more of the Black Sabbath type look with the spikes and stuff. They come out with the big hair.
Was that the Bad Breed? Would that?
You know what? I don't know.
Yeah, because
it could have been
Axel Rotten. Is that
No. It wasn't these guys.
Oh, okay.
No, it wasn't those guys. I know Axel. I know Axel and Ian. We worked with them too, but this was afterwards.
Okay.
This is before those guys ever got there. I think Axel might have been in and out a couple of times. But no, not those guys. Like I said, I could be wrong about the name, but it was something similar to that. So apparently the guys there, if you know how this business is, didn't have too much good to say about them. And we're 2 green guys coming in, that everybody probably want to fail anyway, because that's just how the business is. I ain't going to say everybody, but some of them. But so, certain guys will walk up to you and go, hey, man, how you doing? My name's so-and-so. Hey, how you doing, bro? My name's Stevie Ray. Hey, who you guys going to try tonight, right? Yeah. Who you working with? 2 guys in the wrecking crew. Oh, good luck. You get that kind of, you get that. So I got it 2 or 3 times. I think my brother got it 2 or 3 times from somebody. So I don't know if they're trying to rattle our cage or what. Or are these guys not as good as they say? I don't know. We didn't know. So I go over to my brother, and I said, man, what the hell is going on here, man? It seems like they're setting us up for the frying pan. And my brother's like, yep, that's what it seemed like. And I said, this is what we're going to have to do. We've seen these guys work on television. So what we're going to do, instead of going out there, because Scott Casey had trained us, so we still had a lot of his teachings in our mind to this day. And he said, always never be selfish when you work. Always think about what you're doing in the ring. And what you're doing is trying to give a good show. And to this day, we always kept that, at hand. So I told my brother that this is what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to make these 2 guys look better than they ever looked in their lives. And that's the only way we're going to make it. Because if we go out here and try to show everything we know how to do, then what they're trying to do is kill 2 birds with 1 stone, and we're the 2 birds. Them and us. Actually 4 birds at one time. My brother said, yeah, you're right. So this is what we're going to do. So we went over our game plan. Then we went up to them and go, hey, man, how you doing? We're working with you guys tonight. We're going to do blah, blah, blah. So this is our first night. This was in the Sportatorium, the legendary Sportatorium, okay? We thought we've made it, man. This is Sportatorium, man. This is where the greats in the business have been, you know what I'm saying? Come up watching world-class wrestling with the Von Erichs and Freebirds, and the list goes on and on. We walk out, and brother, I ain't never been booed like that in my life. They called us everything they could actually think of in this place. I was like, television, no, that's okay. We still got to do what we got to do. They called us everything in Dallas, Texas. Man, I wish I could have just rushed down and grabbed somebody and just beat the crap out of them. But, I got to try to stay professional. But I was like, wow, man, this is, cruel. You know what I'm saying? You this, you that, go back to blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, man, they called us everything. So we kept our composure because we had a situation at hand. And, brother, when we started working, it was on. And before that match was over, those people were rooting for us. Those people were clapping. They were doing everything they could to get us to get up and win this match. And we did the finish and everything. I can't even remember what it was. But we come back to the dressing room. Now, everybody in that dressing room, whole attitude had changed toward us. It was, wow. That was the day I was really introduced to the real wrestling business, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And those 2 dudes, that was wrecking crew guys, like I said, I can't remember their names. I think they were from that Georgia area, but I'm not sure. They came up to us and said, you guys are going to make it in this business. You guys got it. I'll never forget that. That's the last thing. That's the last time I ever seen them. The last time I ever spoke to them. But that was the last thing they ever said to us. They said, you guys are going to make it. And then after that, they started bringing us back. And about 6 weeks, we would call ourselves the Ebony Experience now. In about 6 to 8 weeks, the Ebony Experience was the hottest thing in Dallas, Texas. That place went from a few people in it to a packed every Friday night. So that's when the whole thing started. That's when it started.
And who was some of the tag teams you wrestled during that time? Besides
Oh
the
man, the
first
Blackbird,
big
Blackbirds,
feud, yeah.
Iceman, King Parsons, and his partner.
Was it Brickhouse Brown?
No,
Uh,
what was his name? Jackson, Action Jackson. Manny Fernandez and his partner, Killer Brooks. Black Bart, Johnny Mantel. Rod Price and what's his name?
John Tatum?
John Tatum. God, man, it was it was a different guy every other month. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because we were so hot, so they was feeding us good people to keep us over. You know what I'm saying? And that's what put us on the map. And it was hot, and it made the ratings go up. I mean, God, you know, we started getting treated like men. You know, like you were professional wrestlers and you belong here. And that was wow. We had some good times there. I just realized how many people and how many situations we had down there. We had good angles. Gary Hart was involved with him. Skandar Akbar was involved with him. Oh my God, man.
Who were some of the best matches you felt you had?
I don't remember. They were all good. We had good chemistry with everybody.
So you liked working
Because
with
we were the babyface tag team. You know, and the babyface tag team always fought from the bottom up, you know what I'm saying? And that's what you know, you know you arrive when you go into a place, everybody's calling you every name under the sun. A couple of months later, you got people all over this place with signs with your names on them. You know what I'm saying? That's, I don't know, just want to touch you. And it was great. And the guys that own the place, oh man, they treated us right. They treated us nice, and it was a great ride. It was a great ride, and you know they had no Maniac Mike Davis and his partner, Mike Davis and the other Davis, the Dirty Davis brothers. That was another pair we had to go through. Man, I think about this thing now. It's like a comic book, man. It's almost like Superman had to go through all his villains, you know.
Yeah.
Wow, I think this is the first time I really gave that some thought in, man, 15 years maybe. Wow. I never really sit down and thought about it like I am now. That's weird. But we had, wow. Man.
Who was the booker during that time? Just Bill Irwin during the whole ride?
Man, they had different bookers. Manny Fernandez was a book. Oh, man, they had different bookers. They had different bookers in and out. But they always told the booker, keep my babyface tag team strong. And keep them, you know, that's what the people want to see, you know.
And your names back then were Kane and Cole, right?
No, Stevie Ray and Booker T.
Oh, it was, okay, that's what you got in WCW. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Who came up with Ebony Experience? That was
Eddie Gilbert.
Eddie Gilbert. Okay. So they kept, okay.
Yeah. Eddie Gilbert came up with the whole concept. But we never got a chance to use it under his regime, you know.
Yeah.
You know, he gave us the whole thing. And
How long were you there at Globe?
we were there until April of '93. April, May, somewhere in there of '93. That's when we went to WCW. So we were there a couple of years, almost 2 years, I think. Yeah.
And it was a positive experience throughout, as far as.
Brother, I haven't had that much wrestling I haven't had that much fun in wrestling in my life. This was before pay-per-view. This was before ratings wars and all this other bull crap. You know what I'm saying? This was about the fans. This was about giving the fans a good TV show. You know what I'm saying? And that was pure.
And those fans were very
loyal.
Yeah.
Very loyal. When you can change a person's whole outlook on your very makeup, that's strong. That's strong. The same people that called you every racial epithet they could think of are the same people that's bringing signs and pictures and the whole thing and wearing your T-shirts, the whole thing. These are the same people. That's strong.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then you went on to win the GWF North American title?
Yeah, I did.
That was as a single, I guess.
Right.
So
That was when my brother my brother and I had went to Japan for a while, and then we came back. And then my brother was taking another trip to Japan with JBL, as you know him now. Because when me and my brother went to Japan, we hurt a couple of guys. So they didn't want to bring us back together anymore. So they wanted to bring us back as individual wrestlers.
In matches you hurt them? Or?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That Korean style is kind of snug, kind of stiff. And that was our first time ever going. We've gone several times since then. But that was our first time going. And, man, those guys actually tried to hurt us. You know what I'm saying? They actually tried to hurt us.
So it was almost like self-defense in the ring. You had to meet them.
Actually, it was just like, you know, I can give it as good as I can take it. You know, but I ain't finna go 10,000 a mile for somebody to hurt me. You can hurt me in my backyard, you know what I'm saying? But I ain't finna go it ain't no way I'm going 10,000 miles for some Japanese dude to hurt me. So I'm like, Manny Fernandez was on that first tour with him. He kept telling us, man, these guys, they don't think like you guys. We just had to really understand what he was talking about. So I said, okay. After the guy tried to hurt me, now I see what you're talking about. So we had to do what we had to do. I mean, I ain't never tried to actually hurt nobody in the ring. I ain't never in my life. This was the first time. This is the first time I actually wanted to hurt that guy. And I didn't care. And that's a messed up feeling. You know what I'm saying? But it was only because he tried to do it to me first. You know, so I have shown we ain't no punks now. So we hurt one guy one night. I gave him a power bomb. And my brother came down with an elbow at the same time. But the power bomb, I tried to put him through the mat. You know what I'm saying? And my brother sat right on his face. He was out, snoring. It's like that. And the next night, that guy had gave me a back suplex without calling it. I just did it. Now I wasn't even ready for it. And I was like, my brother was like, calm down, don't do nothing yet. You know, I was like, I'm finna kill this guy, you know. So the next night, a guy that had did some stuff to us, and you know, when the tour started about a week and a half before. So I was coming back around, we were working these matches and these guys again, you know what I'm saying? Going through the rotation, I remembered him. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I remember what you tried to do to me. So I shot him into the ropes, and I gave him a clothesline. But before he even came off the ropes, I gave him the clothesline, and I tried to kill him. I tried to knock him out, and I broke his collarbone. I mean, I heard it break as soon as I hit him, and he went outside. He went through the ropes. I mean, it was that hard, and I was running full speed, and I tried to kill him. Bam. And he just kept going through the ropes. And they just had to stop the match, you know. Mm-hmm. And
was this for, like, Old Japan and New Japan? Or
this was for, I can't even remember the name of the company.
Was it independent?
Well, you know, they got so many companies over there.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of this company. It escapes my mind right now. But, oh, man, that was an experience. So
your brother went back off to Japan as a single, and
yeah, he went back. They brought him back as a single, and then they sent me tickets to bring me back when he got. So while he was gone, I had to do single wrestling in GWF, and that's when I won the title. So then they sent me tickets to come back to Japan by myself, and that's when WCW called at this exact same time.
And who did they call? You, or was it?
Actually, man, details like that I can't remember. I just never remember they got in contact with us. You know what I'm saying? And it was Sid Vicious. He called. So I don't even remember. I just remember he was representing WCW. And he called and said, "Hey, they wanted me to look at you guys," and I told him I'd go down and work with them and see if they know what they're doing, and so on and so forth. And he did. He came in and worked. We worked the match with him and his partner, some guy named Johnny Rotten. who just happened to be his best friend that couldn't even. It's a Sid's best friend that and Johnny Rodden didn't even wrestle. He was just his friend. Sid gave him some of his boots and his trunks. He did a match. He never got in very much. He didn't know what he was doing, but he tells Global, "This is my tag team partner from WCW." I'm thinking the guy's a worker, man. The guy never been in the ring in his life. And this is, oh man! I know when he told us that, we died laughing. When we go back to the hotel after we go back to his hotel after the matches and stuff to talk with him about, doing a deal or whatever, And the guy's there. I can't remember his real name. It might have been Johnny. I can't remember. I know every time I seen him, I call him Johnny. And he's like, "Man, I didn't know what I was doing." I think Sid had taught him a couple of arm bars or something, driving to the show or something. And that's really all he did. And he knew how to sell a little bit. And, man, that was oh, God, I haven't thought about that in so long. This guy never worked in his life. He worked for us. He was an engineer for some oil company making $150,000, $80,000 a year. He just Sid's friend from childhood. This was so funny, man. So he gave me his first chance to wrestle against me and my brother. I wish I could get pictures of that. I need pictures of that, man. I was just thinking about that. God, I haven't thought about that. It was so funny. But we had a good match. Mm-hmm. But Sid did all the work, though. You know what I'm saying? We had a good match. Yeah. Oh my God! So that's how that happened, and then next thing you know, we finally got a call to come up to WCW, and we left and went to WCW.
And Eric Bischoff was in charge at that point?
No, Eric Bischoff didn't come in charge of WCW till.
What about '94? Was that?
I think so. This was '93.
'93. Okay.
So Dusty Rhodes and Ole Anderson was the bookers. I think they were like co-booking things there. Yeah. And Dusty Rhodes is the one that gave us the names Kane and Cole. Because apparently they had some kind of discrepancy with us coming from Global with those names. Something had went down. I can't remember. Mm-hmm. And then once those legalities got out the way, then we went back to our original names. Okay. Yeah. Which is about a year later, maybe not even a year. I think it was early '94. We went back to our original names. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess one of the first big things you participated, because you were pushed right to the top mix there. You were in World Games '93.
Yeah, we were, but we still wasn't. Mm-hmm. We still wasn't. We were just kind of like there. You know what I'm saying? They really had no real plans for it. We was kind of like there. We were only there because of Sid Vicious, mm-hmm. At that time. And then I think Sid left and went back to WWF. And then then it was like we were just there. But then, but we were doing good. We were making a lot of great progress. We could work with anybody. And then when Hulk Hogan came in, I guess they told Hulk Hogan to evaluate the talent, and we found out that Hulk had told them, we don't know, they didn't know why you got these guys wrestling every week on television. They're the best tag team you have. And then after that, they started giving us a push, giving us a raise and everything. And I'm like, what the hell, where's this coming from? Mm. They bring us in the office, yeah, we're going to give you guys a push now. I didn't know you had to bring somebody in the office to do that. What's the deal, And come to find out, it was Hulk Hogan who had said, hey, these guys are the best tag team you got, while they're sitting out here putting guys over that shouldn't even be in the ring with them. And that's when things took off for us. We did the thing. They wanted to give us a manager. We actually didn't want a manager. But then when Sherri Martel had came down, and she was doing a thing with Randy Savage and Hogan at the time when Hogan came in. Well, I guess that had subsided, and they didn't know what they was going to do with her. So they had different guys that wanted us to, go in the studio and see how you look, take pictures and see how you look. And we were at a show one day, I don't know, like a TV taping or something, and we seen Sherri there, well, we always talked, and she was like, hey guys, what's going on? I hear you guys looking for a manager. I said, and we was like, yeah, we putting us with all these lame guys, you know. We really don't want a manager, you know. And she was like, it'd be fun. It'd be fun if I could manage you guys. And then we was like, that'd be awesome. You know, yeah. Well, she was like, you think so? And we were like, yeah. I said, now that works. You know what I'm saying? That works. And because she had been off television once the thing with Savage and Hogan, all that angle, and she wasn't on television. But we would see her at some of the shows, you know what I'm saying? So we, I can't remember exactly how it went down, but some kind of way, she was like, well, I'm going to mention it to so-and-so. It's okay if I do that? And I go, yeah. And my brother said, yeah. And that's how, I can't remember who was in charge. It might have been Eric Bischoff. I can't remember. But I remember Ric Flair had the book for a minute, too, right before Hogan. Right before Hogan. And then once Ric Flair got out of there, then they had Kevin Sullivan. And once Kevin Sullivan came in, Kevin Sullivan's a very intelligent guy. Very intelligent guy. Ric Flair, nobody liked him. Nobody liked Ric Flair.
Do you have any ideas why?
Ric Flair is just a big asshole. He's just one of those guys that just want to keep everything like it used to be. You know what I'm saying? Ric Flair was the guy that I seen him. I was there the day that they messed over Steve Austin. I was there when the agents came down and told him, you know, we were there because we had to do an interview that day. And we heard Steve Austin say, hey, man, you know, saying stuff like, hey, man, this is my career, you know. And I could remember people, I think it was Arn Anderson telling, well, that's what Rick wants, because Rick wouldn't go to people in his face. He'd have his, you know, agents guys to do it. And Steve was just getting back from an injury. And I was there when he did all the stuff with Cactus Jack, you know, and all this stuff. And it was like, wow, man, just maliciously, you know, I don't know. Guy just, I don't know. He is what he is, you know. And then I think when Hogan came in, I'm not sure, I never heard this, but I'm just assuming, I think Hogan must have told him, you know, unless y'all get rid of this guy, I'm not coming in. Because next thing you know, Ric Flair went from having an office with his name on it to sitting on an iron chair with a money suit on, sitting with all the other guys in the dressing room. Which I think that had to be the most degrading thing, man, you know, to be in there with all the grunts and nobodies, you know, especially when we go down to Disney and tape, you know, because this was back when we used to go down to Disney, tape all those Power Hour shows and all that kind of stuff. And wow, that was, boy, the guys talked about him. He never heard him, I don't think, but boy, they talked about him like a dog the whole week. You know, he had to sit in there with us. You know, we're in the big dressing room and all the boys being boys, you know, just like little kids when the teacher walk out the room and you're throwing spitballs and airplanes and stuff like that, and you're sitting in the middle of this, these idiots, man, you know what I'm saying, and you, Ric Flair. Oh, my God, it was, boy, I wish I had a camcorder back then, or phone, picture phone, anything, man. It was just classic. It's in my mind right now. It's classic. I loved it. Couldn't happen to a better guy.
You feel he was like this mainly because he was desperate to hold on to his position? I mean, even to this today?
Who knows? Who knows, man? I think the wrestling business does such a psychological thing to certain people's minds. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think Ric Flair. I think Ric Flair is a super sharp, intelligent person, very astute businessman. But when it comes to wrestling, some people just don't want to let go. And a lot of people were saying that Steve Austin might be the next Ric Flair. That's what, you know, we hear in the dressing room. Man, the guy, you know, guys that work with him say, man, this guy's good. I remember him and Ricky Steamboat having some matches, some great matches. We would go on the road, and they was on the road together. Great matches. I know Ricky Steamboat would go back and tell the office, man, this guy's ready. You don't get no better than Ricky Steamboat. Ricky Steamboat, best worker to ever put tights on, you know. And boy, we would come out the dressing room and watch these matches, man, every night. Because, you know, we had a pay-per-view coming up. We wasn't doing pay-per-views every 25 days back then. It was one every few months or whatever, you know, 3 months or so. And him and Rick was on the road Rick was showing him, do a little stuff every night, and we're going to put this in our match for the pay-per-view. Then come pay-per-view time, don't ask me what pay-per-view it was. They get out there in the pay-per-view, and they give them like 5 minutes to do their match. I was like, wow, where did that come from? And I knew it had to be Ric Flair. So they wouldn't steal the show. I knew it had to be. I was like, wow. And I asked Steamboat about it, and he was like, man, right at the last minute, they cut our match down. We don't know what happened. But, you know what's up. But I remember that, man. And right after that, he left, and he just left. He didn't go up to Vince, I think, so a year or so later. But, yeah, I remember that. And they took the belt off him and put it on Jim. They took the belt off him and put it on Jim Duggan when Jim Duggan came in. But, I'm not trying to get off track of what's going on with us, but I'm just remembering some of the maniacal bull crap that went on in WCW,
Sure. Well, early in your WCW career, you started, you had some tag teams that you faced back then, Stars and Stripes, Bagwell, and Patriot.
Mm-hmm.
I think you traded the tag team belts a couple times with
Yeah.
them. How'd you like working with them?
It was okay, good.
Yeah.
Most of the guys, we had pretty good matches with everybody that I can remember. The only tag team I never liked working was Dick Slater and
Bunkhouse Buck.
Bunkhouse Buck.
They're here today.
Oh, really?
They're going to be here, yep, this weekend. So is...
Nothing against them personally.
So is the Patriot.
Dale?
Yep.
Yeah, nothing against them personally. We just had the most crappy matches with them. So, but decent matches, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, as far as personally, sometimes you got a rhythm. And wrestling a lot is a rhythm. And sometimes you have a rhythm with people, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's just you're stepping on each other's toes, you know what I'm saying? If you're trying to dance with them. We just never had a rhythm with them, you know what I'm saying? Just never could get a rhythm.
Did you get that rhythm with the Nasty Boys?
Yeah, we had a good rhythm with the Nasty Boys. Very good rhythm. Very good rhythm with most everybody we worked. Because we worked so much back then. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? We worked so much. We'd be on the road with the Nasty Boys for almost a year. On the road with the Steiner brothers for almost a year. So we knew each other like with Stars and Stripes for months. Mm-hmm. With Bagwell and Riggs for months. God.
Actually, Regal and Eaton. Was it Regal and Eaton?
We worked them a lot on television, mm-hmm. but we didn't go on the road with them.
Okay.
We never did married together. We did a lot of TV stuff with them, but we never got into a real big angle with them. I remember one time did we drop the straps on them once?
I don't think to Regal and Eaton. I think with Buck and Slater you did.
Okay. No. This was Regal and his other partner.
Dave Taylor?
Dave Taylor.
Okay.
I think we dropped the straps on him one night.
I'm not sure on that, yeah.
I'm not sure either. Because, man, we went back and forth with straps so many times, I couldn't remember. My brother just came up with a deal one day and said, hey, we 7-time tag team champions. We didn't even know if we had been there. And so they started writing that in the book. It might have been 15 at that time. I'm serious. One day my brother just said, he said, I think we done lost the title and gained them back at least 7 times. So as far as I'm concerned, when we win the title in the pay-per-view, we're going to be 7 times. So he started saying that on the promos, yeah. And they just ran with it. So I don't know. It could have been more than that. Because one day we were in the dressing room trying to remember how many times that we had won and lost the titles. So he said 7. I said 6. He remember because a lot of times we would lose them on the road, and then we would gain them back at the next show. Mm-hmm. So we must have did that I think if we put in all of those, we might have had the title 15, 20 times. I don't know. Yeah, it was funny, man. But my brother kept up with stuff like that. I never did. You know what I'm saying? When I came to work, I just came to wrestle and leave. I'm not thinking about wrestling no more than when I'm looking at it too much, My brother's totally opposite. He's wrestling 24/7. You know what I'm saying? 24/7. So that was always a big thing to him. So when we got into how many times Harlem Heat had won the tag team, it was more him. That meant something to him, you know what I'm saying? But, it was fun. If they believe it, then I guess it's true, So to this day, he can tell you who we lost him to and what pay-per-views and all this. I can't. I can't. I probably can't name one time. You say we lost him to Buck and them? I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I don't remember it.
Yeah. I think Stars and Stripes, you traded it back and forth 2 times or so.
Right. Steiner Brothers, I remember dropping them to them.
Nasty Boys probably too.
I remember dropping them to Sting and Lex Luger. Nasty Boys, yeah.
Hall and Nash.
Hall and Nash, yeah.
Well, getting back to the Nasty Boys, how did you feel about that? That was a very long angle you did with them. It lasted a while. You had that famous concession stand fight where
I forgot all about that. I forgot all about that. And then, that's the worst match I've ever been in my entire life. I mean, from the bush leagues to the big leagues. That is the worst match I've ever been in my life. Then we look in Pro Wrestling Illustrated, and Pro Wrestling Illustrated say, this is the second best match of the whole year.
Yeah.
I'm like, when they're giving awards for best matches, I was like, this business is insane.
I watched that match recently, and you guys the floor was covered with mustard and ketchup.
Right.
And you couldn't even get your
Man, I almost pulled my groin. I don't know how many times. No lie. This is dead serious. The uniforms that we had on, and one thing about Harlem Heat, nobody dressed as good as us. We always set the standard when it came to tag teams and our uniforms and the way we designed them and everything. We never could wear those uniforms again. They were that messed up that we couldn't even wash the stuff out. They didn't have Oxy clean stuff back in those days, so it was like, they were ruined. Ruined. I was hot, man, because, we paid big money for our garments, you know what I'm saying? We paid big money for them. And, wow. I was glad we didn't wear our real expensive. We had a leather look that we used to wear back then. And we were the first people in the wrestling business to start wearing that. It was a fabric that we got from some strippers, Mm-hmm. And a lady that made costumes for strippers, we went to her and had them make it for us. Very expensive stuff at the time. I'm quite sure it's run-of-the-mill stuff back then. It was just hitting the streets back then. It was elastic type stuff, but it looks like leather, and she made us out. And boy, I was just glad we didn't wear that, because I really would have been hot. Because everybody stopped, man, is that hot? We go, yeah, it's hot, man. It's really hot. And they didn't know it wasn't real leather. And finally, I think Dallas Page found out, what it was. Because I think his wife was a stripper at one time, and she must have told him. Then he went and got some stuff made with the same material. You just can't stop to bite us, man. Can't stop to bite us.
How did everybody feel about that match, the concession stand match?
I don't even remember.
Okay.
I wanted to forget it as fast as I could. Because I'm like this. I never got in the business to be a clown act. I never got in the business to sell cotton candy. You know what I'm saying? We want to wrestle. And that kind of crap, that was never our forte. So we did it because, you work for a company. But I just assumed that match never happened. I hated it. I hated it. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to make it look as good as I can make it look, but it's not my forte. It was garbage, as far as I'm concerned. It's garbage.
So now you're on the road with Sherri. How did you feel as it was going on with you and with the team with her?
Great.
It was
great.
as good of
Sweet.
a fit as you thought it would be?
It was the best fit. Mm-hmm. It was the best fit possible.
Do you think she got you guys to that next level?
No, we got each other to another level.
Or helped you, I'm saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The reason it worked, because it hadn't been done before. Anything it's been tried. It had been tried before, but people could look straight through it. Okay, you got a white chick with 2 black guys. that only works if the chick is as tough as they are. That's the only way it works. Mm-hmm. It can't work with a little pretty white chick with two mean-looking black guys. That's such a cliche. You can spit on it. But when the chick is double tough and gonna sit there and fight for her guys, now you got something. You know why? Because you're pissing black people off and white people at the same time. That's psychology that people don't think about. Because when Sherri talked, she meant what she said. And when we talk, we meant what we said. When we said we was coming to kick your butt, we was coming to kick your butt. And Sherri made sure you got your butt kicked because she put it on the line. You know, like if she got knocked out because she was trying to keep her boys with the titles. Not just there. If you understand what I'm saying.
Sure. Not
just being there for the sake of, put her on the payroll because she's messing around with so-and-so. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. This fit because we were all professional wrestlers. So if Sherri got in there and did something to you, she knew what she was doing because she's a professional wrestler. So she was landing on the line. It's just like a kicker in a football game that's got to go down and make the tackle. He might be the littlest guy on the team, but his job ain't just to kick the ball. He got to stop the guy. At least make a gallant effort. You know what I'm saying? This is football. So, you know, if you get killed, ran over, that's your job. Not get out the way like some people would do. You know what I'm saying? Well, that's what made it real. That made it so real because we all knew how to talk the talk and walk the walk. And when we walked out, people would go, God, look at them. I can't stand them. But I love to hate them. You know what I'm saying? I can't stand it. I can't wait for somebody. And I can't wait for somebody to grab that Sherri and just beat the crap out of her. You know, a lot of people got close, but we always stopped them. You know what I'm saying? And Sherri would never back. If you ever notice, she never backed down from a man. Never backed down. If you remember that match, it was 3 against 2.
She was in it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was 3, and she didn't even supposed to be in it. She didn't even supposed to do that.
Yeah.
But it was going so good. We never could stop her. And if you see some of our interviews with different people when it got heated, or some, you know, the angling really got heated, how we would have to hold her back. Like, come on, baby, cool down, you know what I'm saying? And she would be so upset at who we're talking about. And she'd make it so real, because sometimes me and my brother have to look at each other like, man, is she sure? You know, it was great, man. Oh, man, those were some good days. Those were some. When Sherri and they took Sherri away from us, that's when I really stopped really giving a care about pro wrestling altogether. It just wasn't the same no more. Then I was just working for a living.
Now, right before they took away Sherri, they did that angle, I think, which was leading up to Sherri leaving, was the love affair with her and Colonel Rob Carter.
Yeah, that was good, too. We loved it.
Okay.
We loved that, too, because it was showing finally it's some kryptonite. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? That Mike can stop these guys. It's her love affair with the Colonel. I mean, that was great. That was great television. And and how we would barely be hanging on by a thread because they're not focused. And the only reason we let him hang around was because our compassion for her. Mm-hmm. Other than that, we would have beat the crap out of him a long time ago because you ever noticed we were always getting mad at him. And she would come up and go, no, boys, he didn't mean it. He didn't mean it, you know. And we're like, Colonel, you almost made us lose. What are you doing? And he's like, I'm sorry, you know, blah, 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 you know. But that was his master plan the whole time, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So it was played out great. I loved it. But no, we know, then finally she came to her senses, and you remember they had a match, and she beat him. And then it was like we was all together again, you know what I'm saying? Then again, maybe Harlem Heat had ran its course, you know what I'm saying? But it got so hot and so strong, mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying, that, man, I didn't really realize how, you know, I didn't realize for a long time how much people was into Harlem Heat. Because I'm the kind of guy, I don't like being around wrestlers when I'm not wrestling. I'm not a hangout wrestling guy with other wrestlers. I like to be around my own buddies. I got buddies that's into drag racing. I like to hang around, cars and stuff like that. So not until people start coming up to me and telling me, man, I love watching you guys, stuff like that. And I'm, oh, really? Hey, Stevie Ray. And I'm like, who's this guy talking to? Oh, yeah, I'm Stevie Ray, yeah. And I have to remember, yeah, that's me, I never realized for a long time how strong it was.
All right, we're back. So we were talking about the Road Warriors next. How did you
I don't
feel
remember
about-
working the Road Warriors but once, like I was saying. We never had an angle with them. We always wanted to, and the fans wanted us to, but WCW didn't want us to. Why, I don't know. They wanted to. They came in, they said, hey, we're going to have an angle with you guys. But WCW, somebody didn't want them. They took the titles off us and put them on Sting and Lex Luger and let the Road Warriors work Sting and Lex Luger. And the people looked at them as all baby faces, so it never worked. That's just some of the other stupid stuff that WCW did. Now, you got fans that's been asking you about the Road Warriors since you started wrestling. What do you think you do against them? What do you think you do? I mean, that's just some of the matchups of certain sports. When you got it right in front of you, you run with it. Now, what sane man? I mean, this is beyond any sane man's comprehension. You got Harlem Heat, the hottest tag team of the 90s, the Road Warriors, the hottest tag team of the 80s, and you don't put them together to do anything. That's just beyond stupidity. So it had to be something more personal. What it was, I don't know. You don't know how many times I've been in an autograph session or been walking through an airport and some guy asked me, hey, man, what do you think you guys would do against the Road Warriors? Man, we eat them alive. We eat them like collard greens. You know what I'm saying? If they got in the ring with us, we'd make them seem like they was going backwards. And, so you got magazines showing dream matches. You know what I'm saying? What would Harlem Heat do? You know what I'm saying? This kind of stuff. It's kind of like, what would Mike Tyson do against Muhammad Ali? What would, the 1976 Pittsburgh Steelers do against the 1985 Chicago Bears? You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
People sit down at dinner tables in offices at the water cooler all year, everywhere, all over the United States, and talk about things like that when it comes to certain sports. What would the 75 Reds do against the 92 Yankees? Some people don't like to let go. And people that dominated eras, you know what I'm saying? You can always sit back and what if, but when you got it, when it's right in your hand, and you can do it and you don't do it, that's beyond sanity. I mean, I don't know. So WCW was always about dumb stuff like that anyway, so what the hell.
Well, I guess you had some matches right around that period with Sting and Luger. So this was some of your first matches with them?
Yeah, we love working with Sting and Lex Luger. Love working with them. But we wanted to take the belts back away from them the same way we lost it. They wouldn't let us do that.
Who was that, meaning the...
WCW.
WCW, okay.
They wouldn't let us do that. And I think that was a mistake. I mean, WCW always had this thing about protecting their so-called stars. Some of them couldn't lose a match certain ways. They couldn't let that happen. That company was ran so ass backwards that, it was like poetic justice to what happened to it. You could see it coming a mile off. And frankly, I love wrestling. I always hated the business, but I was glad when WCW was finally put out of smithery because it was like a nag running on 3 bad hoofs. I was glad to see it put out of its misery. The only thing that upset me that I wish never would have happened was all those people behind the scenes, that's behind the cameras, that's behind the wardrobe, that's behind all the organization and stuff that put everything together that never got a chance. You know what I'm saying? And just never got a chance. They were just told one day, you don't have a job. You know what I'm saying? That always It always kind of touched me in my heart. You know, that was just wrong. But, you know, it was the most backwards company known to man, and it was good to work there, though. You know, it was good to work there. Some good guys. Made a lot of good friends. Well, I consider them friends. You know, I don't know if they consider me friends, but I consider them friends. And had some good times. But, man, it's just a backwards company. Backwards.
I guess during this run, Eric Bischoff came into power. What were
Yeah.
your feelings of Eric Bischoff?
Bischoff was good people, but he was just like Caesar, you know what I'm saying? He was like, you know, a person that just didn't know his surroundings. He didn't know all the senators were trying to get him. You know what I'm saying? Instead of being standoffish and just being running a company like any CEO would do, you know, I think he got too close to a lot of people. And those were the same people trying to get him, the same people to make him. And I think eventually that's what probably happened, you know what I'm saying? Me, one man's opinion. But as I don't have one bad thing to say about Eric Bischoff. Not one. He always treated me right. He always talked to me like a gentleman. Good guy.
Started wrestling the Steiners, too. I had a lot of matches with them, trading back the belts. Any thoughts on them personally and their matches?
Love working them. I consider Scott and Rick, especially Rick. Me and Rick became very good friends, you know what I'm saying? You know, just good guys. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Love working them. We worked them on the road. We worked them in pay-per-views. We worked them Sturgis. And I think that match in Sturgis, I think I got asked more about that match than any match I ever had in my life. One of those Sturgis, I don't know if it was the first one or the second one, but we had this tag match with them where I think somebody hit Scott Steiner in their face with some powder, and then somebody hit him over the head with Colonel's cane, knocks him out. We beat him. They had beat us for 27 minutes. You know, they beat us for 27 minutes, but we win the match. And then all the people in the audience on the motorcycle start throwing cans and all kind of stuff at us, man. I mean, what's that about? I ride bikes myself, man. You ain't gonna do a brother like that up in Sturgis, cause you know, just cause we called your girlfriend, you know, toothless or something like that. That ain't right, you know. I'm just doing my job. They took it personally. I'll never forget that match, though, man. God, people asked me about that for years. It was a great match, though. And that just set the stand between us. We had good chemistry. Good chemistry.
You had a couple other matches with these tag teams. I think this maybe ran a couple, maybe a month or so. The French Canadians, which were with Rob Parker. Was it Jacques Rougeau and Pierre Ouellette?
I guess I did.
Don't remember that.
I mean, I remember them, but I don't remember any of the matches.
Nothing. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I remember them, but
Yeah.
I don't remember. You know, like I say, right after that, after the big name guys, everything got monotonous. Really, really monotonous, and everything was really now we're going into the TV era. We're going into the Monday Night Wars and all this kind of stuff, and that's when things changed. Things just changed. Because now you're not wrestling for fun anymore. You're wrestling because somebody said, we need a rating at this hour. Or we need this at this hour. We need this at this. I mean, God. I mean, you know, if you put a good show on, you don't need nothing at a certain hour. Apparently, you must not be very confident in what kind of product you're putting out here, that you think a match is going to save you. It ain't about the match. It's about the show. When you come to any production, you think the guys at Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus say, make sure all the monkeys are fed, because we got to make sure everybody likes the monkeys. Well, what do you think the guy that likes the hippopotamus says? What do you think the guy that likes the rhino says? What do you think the guy that likes the lion and the high wire people? What do you think? What about that? It takes a collaboration of all that to make Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus. It's a show. And I'm like, if it's going to be about a match, then I know you're crazy. And you don't know what you're doing. That's why Vince McMahon is killing you, because he's into television, a show. You're still thinking Ted Turner or Crockett, NWA, what is it? NWA. What was it?
NWA?
No. Yeah, NWA, National Wrestling Alliance?
Yes.
He's still thinking like Crockett. You know what I'm saying? We got to have a good match at the end of the night, because we've had all the get-over matches for the first hour interview. So now we got to put a good match on the end of the night so people can watch the show next week. That's not having people in the right. If you're going to do TV, you got to bring in TV people. If you're going to do wrestling, you got to bring in wrestling people. Wrestling people that know how to do TV is two totally different things. Stupid. I swear to God, I just sit back and look at these idiots. I'm like, then you got guys like Hulk Hogan, and I love him to death, calling his own angles, doing the same thing. You got guys like Kevin Sullivan and Brian Pillman taking their real, their problems with each other in front of the camera. That's not professional. Wow. Man, I look back on that now, and I'm like, wow, how did we last as long as we did? I'm just glad I was there for a little bit.
You also had some matches with Public Enemy around this point?
Hated them all.
Hated
them all of them. Dreadful.
Yeah.
I love those two guys to death. God rest their souls. But we never had good chemistry. We didn't do that. Those guys were into that tables, all that kind of crap you see on ECW. Man, we made our money in the middle of the ropes. You know what I'm saying? We made thousands in the middle of the ropes. And to take us to do that kind of crap, now you're lowering everything and every standard that we've built. We represent this company. These guys are coming from this Bush League bullshit. Now they're coming over to our world, and now you want us to go down to this crap because you're marked for it. That's suicide. That's not Harlem Heat. Go get whoever to do this. We're in the big leagues. We don't come out there with $dollar waving our hands with two guys that the last time they seen the gym, they went by at 150 miles an hour. You know what I'm saying? We're athletes. We make our money in the ring. So it's like, how you going to do that to the team that put tag team wrestling back on the map in the 90s? That was an insult. Don't get me wrong, nothing against them. I love them like brothers. You know what I'm saying? Me and Rocco hung out together. Man, when I heard he had passed, it hurt me. Me and Rocco used to hang out. He was one of the few people I ever hung out with. I'm talking about hung out. I would take him in the heart of Atlanta to black strip clubs, and everybody treat him like a brother. You know what I'm saying? And we would stay in there and get drunk till 5 o'clock in the morning. You know what I'm saying? That was my friend. Nothing against his style of wrestling, but that was for, you know what I'm saying? No. And we could never really wrestle real good conventional matches with them because they couldn't keep up with us. And we're so much bigger than they are. You know what I'm saying? Especially taller. They're not very tall guys, you know what I'm saying? But nothing against them as wrestlers. They're good. But they wasn't Harlem Heat. Not by a long stretch.
I guess, well, since we talked a little bit of ECW, you brought it up a couple times. What is your feelings on ECW at that point, what you saw them doing over there?
I was a big fan of ECW. But that was ECW. You can't mix oil and water. You can't do it. They don't mix. This is good for this. This is good for this. You know? So it's like there's no medium. When you're doing a certain, they have to do what they have to do to get an audience. Everybody sees that and everybody knows that. So for you to take what these guys have done to make themselves and put them in another genre, you know what I'm saying? It don't work. It does not work. But some people are too stupid to see that because they don't know anything about, I guess they're just plain entertainment business, or maybe they just don't know nothing about the wrestling business. Just because these guys can break chairs over here and tables and stuff like that, and that's amusing to some cult type, following. This is conventional big time wrestling. Never go down to somebody's standards. You always make their standards come up to yours. Other than that, you don't touch it. That's in anything. Anything, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't care what it is, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, you see a lot of, like I said, I'm into auto racing big time. You will never see NASCAR lower their standards for some Bush League stuff that you see on ESPN once, or not ESPN, or Speed Vision, or whatever, or the outdoor station once every blue moon. No, this is NASCAR. That might be cool, and they might have 200,000 people that watch them, but we got 50 million that watch us. So why would I take Jeff Gordon and put him over here with, you know, Outback Bobby? This is Jeff Gordon. He puts asses in the seats, and we're big. So you got to think big. That's the only way you're going to ever be big. And why you would lower those standards for that, I don't know. And, you know, we get caught in the middle, but, you know, I'm just somebody just working for a living, you know.
How was it brought up that Sherri was going to be taken away? How was it brought up that Sherri was going to be taken away from home?
Just like usual. They wasn't even, there wasn't even professional enough to bring us in and do it. They did it and then told us about it. Typical WCW. Typical. I never forget it was in Memphis, Tennessee. Never forget it. And I'm like, what? So it was like, as far as I'm concerned, they could have just broke us all up right there. Because as far as wrestling and a tag team, it wasn't the same anymore. I mean, not only, you know, they were letting her go, they were firing her.
That's right. Yeah, she left the company.
Yeah, she was firing her. Instead of coming to us like men and go, hey, you ain't working out with her. She got some problems. This is nothing toward you guys or whatever, but, you know, they've sent down, you know, the order to, we have to let her go, and we fought for her, but it's beyond our control or whatever. I mean, to just wake up one day and we go, hey, what's here, you know? Oh, we had to let her go. What can you do?
Is that around that time? Did you have, I guess, a period of time where you didn't have a manager, or when did you get Jacqueline?
As far as I'm concerned, we never got Jacqueline, so I don't even want to talk about it. Mm-hmm. I hate to be disrespectful to you, but that never happened, as far as I'm concerned. Mm-hmm. That was a lost cause. That was pathetic, pitiful, and if anybody can remember that, God bless them, because I don't even remember it.
Faces of Fear.
Who was that?
Haku and Barbarian. You started having matches with those guys.
Oh, we did? I remember a couple of matches with them. Like I said, you know, when you get down to TV stuff, yeah, that's all it was, TV stuff. We had a couple of matches with them, but that's all it was. Back then, at those times, we just started doing matches on TV. They didn't mean nothing. You know what I'm saying? There's no angles. We never worked on the road with nothing. We would work on the road with people that you didn't even know about. You know, at that time, you know, we might get to a TV tape and we're working with Barbarian and Haku, and that's the end of it. As soon as the match is over, that's the end of it. We never had an angle with them. We might have had matches with hundreds of people. I don't know, but we never had an angle. I think that was like the end of our.
Well, around this time, I think around '97, you took off about 5 months,
right?
6 months.
Mm-hmm.
You had a break from wrestling or whatever,
right?
During that time, you just took some time off, or
right?
Was it? Okay. And at that point, I guess you were pretty much broken up. At that point,
mm-hmm.
The Harlem Heat was broken up. How did you feel during that time?
I felt great.
Yeah.
I felt great. Like I said, as far as I was concerned, to be honest, I never wanted Harlem Heat to get back together again. I never cared anymore. I didn't care. I just wanted to, like I said, back in those days, I was just wrestling for a check. I would just come to work and do what I had to do. And, I mean, the office wanted to put us back together. Hulk Hogan, they broke us up, and then Hulk Hogan come to us and said, nah, we got to put you guys back together because you guys were always money. Yeah, we was always money when we had money to work with. But now we don't have money. It's just garbage around here. You got a Nitro show doing this crap, and you got a what was it? Thunder show that's doing the same crap. You know, and I'm like, wow, man. And, you know, I just came to work, you know what I'm saying? And then they put me in the NWO thing for a minute, and, you know, that was kind of cool. You know, it was something different to do, you know, so it gave you a different interest. Because, you know, when you look at the creative side of what you do, you're still a performer. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, it's just like a musical band. You can only stay together so long before you want to do your own stuff sometime, you know what I'm saying? So putting us back together was cool. But I frankly didn't really want to be. I didn't want to do it anymore. My heart wasn't in it. But I did it because that's what they wanted. But all the great tag teams were gone now. They had broke the Steiner brothers up. They had broke us up. I don't know what happened with Knobs was there. Sax wasn't. All the other guys were all gone.
A lot of those makeshift tag teams.
Huh?
A lot of makeshift tag teams.
Yeah.
They put guys together just.
And Eric Bischoff had went on record saying he was going to get rid of all tag team wrestling and professional wrestling. He wanted to go down in history as that. This ship was, man, it was like the Titanic, but it wasn't an iceberg coming. It was a ICBM coming, man. You know what I'm saying? It was, when you look back on some of this stuff now, it's like, this is just plain crazy. You got a product that's working, but yet you want to turn it all around, and you don't know anything about it. But what you got, it's unreal. So that's what, after that, I would say, then they put us back together, I guess, after that. I can't remember.
During this time around, when you were in your peak as a tag team there, did you get were you ever approached by the WWE?
Yeah.
To come over?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I guess at the time you had a contract, so...
No, not actually. We were going to play out our contracts and then go up.
What year was this round?
I don't know. 96, 97, right in there, when we were hot.
Mm-hmm.
But my daughter was very young at the time, and I think that's when Vince was still asking guys to move to Connecticut.
Mm.
And I didn't want to move to Connecticut. But about 95, 96, right in there. I think we was in our second year of our new contract, so it had to be 96. Yeah, 95, 96, 94, 95. Yeah, 94, 95. Yeah, we still had a year left on our deal. And when we played it out, then it was this big, I guess it got out. Mm-hmm. It got all over the place that we were going to WWF. And because then different wrestlers started coming and asking, hey, man, I hear you're going to WWF. I'm like, no, man, that's not true, But in essence, yeah, we had been talking to them behind the scenes and off the record. We couldn't talk to them because we were under contract, but we could talk to a go-between, somebody that wasn't with them or they wasn't, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And they would relay what we would say, and they would relay what we would say. That way, we wasn't,
Tampering contract.
with our contracts don't tamper with our contracts. Yeah, so. And then I guess WCW got light of it, and they came in and they pulled us in the office and they said, we're going to cancel your contract out and give you a new one. And we never asked, we're like, where's this come from? We never asked for a contract. Well, we just think you guys are doing so good, we're going to give you a new contract. And then they gave us more money. It's like, well, guess we'll just stay here then. But that's why we stayed in WCW. Or we would have left, we would have left probably back in the mid-90s.
Do you regret it they didn't go?
No, I don't regret anything about my career. It went the way it was supposed to go. I'm just happy to be in the wrestling business, because we still could have went after that, but I didn't want to, I never wanted to go. I didn't want to go up there then.
So getting back to, you started joining the NWO, and you like that angle?
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was something different. We had fun with it. Me, Brian Adams, Virgil, like you mentioned earlier, Scott Norton, another good friend of mine that, we still talk to this day. We had fun with that. It was just, it showed our artistic side of the business, whereas we could be good actors also. Not so much as great wrestlers, but, some of the skits that we did, you know what I'm saying, they were classic. People loved them. And I liked them too, It was another part. And it makes you interested in something because you're doing something different now, you know what I'm saying? And that's what people know you for. And it was great. I liked it. Yeah, I liked it. For a while.
During that time, a lot of people said, well, they thought there was way too many people in the NWO, which kind of watered it down, and that there was a B team NWO and an A team NWO.
Right.
And people thought it was just, that's really because they let everybody in, they ended up.
Well, it was true. That was true. That goes back to what I was talking about earlier about having something you don't know what you got. It goes back to people that run the company. They didn't know what they had. I mean, it was just that simple. They make the decisions. And instead of when you got something that hot, instead of you making it even better, you do something ghoulish with it. Just throw it out there and go, well, it'll sell. I mean, if you're a CEO of a company and you do that, you're going to get fired. Because your job is to look at the product and how to make it better and how to sell more of it. Not just to go be content with, okay, it did whatever. Your job is to keep it going and double that and then double that and double that some more. That's just me, so one man's opinion, but that's WCW. You will always hear those kind of stories when you talk about WCW.
I guess here's another one. A lot of times during this time, you guys were headlining on the house shows.
Right.
Whereas people that they pushed nonstop on television, like Hogan, Hall and Nash, I guess Sting, 2 Point Luger, some of these guys didn't, Savage, they didn't do the house shows.
Exactly.
And they didn't, I guess they didn't, they pushed you guys, but you weren't seen as the main people on the show, and then they made you rely the house shows on you, and then you took the fall on it.
Right.
How did you feel about that? And I mean, being on the road all that time. And
well, I was coming off being off for a while, so I was glad to be on the road. I wanted to be on the road, but it was another WCW ploy, and I'm like this: when you got a television show, you market certain names to make people come to the house shows. So you market their names to give them nothing at the house shows. What kind of business is that? You just don't. Who is this person that I would just like to talk to for one day that does not care about the product? Who is he? Where is he? I just want to know who's responsible for that. Because that's the guys that's on the show are the same guys the people pay their hard-earned money to see. All of them. Not one of them. All of them.
Do you think that maybe it was all WCW's, well, I guess it was WCW's fault because they let it happen, but a lot of times I guess a lot of those very big names ended up saying, because there was such a war with the WWE at the time, we have to have this kind of contract. We don't want to work these kind of dates, guys like Savage, Hogan, Alex Hall and Nash. And they made themselves have these great deals. So
you should never succumb to the talent in the wrestling business. A warden never succumbs to his prisoners in his prison or his guards. You got a job, you do your job. If you're that desperate for talent just to have them on, my thing is this: if you just want guys for television, why do the house shows? Because that's a very, very lucrative part of the business. It's the money and the revenue that not only what people don't understand is, if you don't know the business, then I'm going to explain it to you. It's not just the company that makes money off that. It's also the guys around the company that promote these shows, and that's how they make their money. And that's why they're busting their ass to make money, because when you bring us the talent, we'll put the asses in the seats, and we all can get paid from it, and we keep it going. But if you're not sending me the talent, and I'm out here killing myself to try to get people in the seats, I'm not going to make any money. This building ain't going to want to mess with me no more. Because we're not meeting up to certain standards, certain numbers that we used to. It's bigger than just a house show. You know what I'm saying? Certain people got to live off of this, whoever they may be. No need to call them no names because you wouldn't know who they are anyway. But these are people I know, and this is what they do all over the country. But now you kind of digging into their pockets now because they can't sell the shows out anymore because you're selling them crap. WCW never promoted the shows. They just sent the talent and do little inserts on television. But if you say this person doesn't come, this person coming, and they don't come, what's people going to do? I'm not going to see that crap. I'll just watch it on TV. So, slowly but surely, the money pie for those guys start to subside, little by little by little, and you start seeing it till they get to the point where they can't do it no more.
Working with Hall and Nash, how did you feel about that?
No, I loved it. Very, very good. We had good chemistry together. Just the thing was, WCW didn't want them to work with us either. They wanted us to do a pay-per-view in Vegas, but no house shows together. Hall and Nash had to go to Eric Bischoff. Now, I will say this about Eric, man, that was dumb. And some of the other stuff he was dumb. But personally, he was always cool to me. But he did a lot of dumb shit. That was one of the things. I never understood that. They had to go to him and say, hey, we want to work with these guys, man. We got to learn how they work so we can have a good show on the pay-per-view, the Halloween Havoc to be exact. And so then he goes, oh, okay, yeah. You're a pussy, man. You can't be a pussy to guys. You just can't do it. You can't be a pussy in the fucking wrestling business. You can't do it. And as many faults as Eric Bischoff may have, one of his faults is I think he was too big of a pussy to these guys, and they liked what I'm saying. You got too close to him. Just be the boss. You know what I'm saying? I had a detail shop for 4 years. I was never friends with any of my employees. I mean, you know, I'm cool because I'm paying you. But if you mess up, your ass is out of here. We ain't never that cool. You know what I'm saying? You don't come to work, you get, you know.
When your employees become your friends, that's when they start taking advantage.
Yes. He was friends with everybody from, you know, Dallas Page and everybody. You know what I'm saying? He was in a position that I don't know. Some people just, I don't know. I think some people are just easily intimidated.
I guess at this point you became the leader of the NWO Black and White.
I did?
Won that battle royal?
Oh, God, yeah. That's what they say.
Still like those angles at that point, or was it going downhill?
Well, it was going downhill then. It was fun. It was fun while it lasted, you know. They wasn't putting any more energy in it, so we couldn't get anything out of it. So you're only as good as the people that's doing the writing for you and all this kind of stuff. So, hey, it was what it was.
And you had some matches with Dallas Page. I guess you started to, well, I'm sorry, you're reunited with your brother at this point?
No, I started having matches with Dallas Page, trying to get the belt from him. Remember, he got the heavyweight belt.
Okay.
And I started working him on the road and stuff like that to try to get the belt from him. So that was fun.
Okay. And then at some point around here, you reunited with your brother.
Right.
And you worked, I think, did you work with Dallas Page and, what was it, Bigelow and Canyon?
Right.
Okay. Any thoughts on that stuff? Getting back with your brother at that point?
Garbage.
Yeah.
Just stuff they just throwed out there. Was scenery for the people. You know, cheap scenery for the people.
Your brother felt the same way about?
But you know, I don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't even know. We never talked about it. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm just talking about what I felt.
At this time, I guess you got another manager at Midnight joined?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Another trainer?
She wasn't no manager. She was just, where was she? Yeah, you tell me. Where was she?
No, that's all I know is Midnight.
I don't know.
So
yeah, I mean, Midnight was the proverbial flash in the pan.
And I guess WCW was big on this at this point. They had a lot of flashes in the pan. They started to have a lot of different.
Brother, at this point in time, now things are getting kind of cloudy. You know what I'm saying? I swear to God, if you hadn't just mentioned Midnight, I wouldn't have barely remembered she was ever there. I remember going to her. She didn't want to sign a contract, and people started coming in acting as though they were, I don't know, Barry Bonds or somebody, man. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, you've done nothing in the business. How you gonna demand this? Oh God, I gotta go. I'm like, I wasn't brought up like this. This is beyond me. Somebody give you a job instead of you counting your blessings. You know, you want to turn into Matt Liner. It's beyond belief, man. So I was like, look, I told my brother, look, I don't even want to be around her. Period, because she's messing with my career. I didn't want to be around her. I'm going to tell J.J. Dillon, and I say this on tape. I told J.J. Dillon, I don't care what you do with her, but I'm from them have nobody messing with my career. Period. So I guess they got rid of her.
I guess you at this point. I guess you broke up. Well, you and your brother, storyline-wise, you separated at this point. You still were on good terms, storyline-wise, and then you formed new Harlem Heat.
Oh yeah.
With Big T, better known as Ahmed Johnson.
Right. That lasted for about, I think, 6 weeks. before he crapped out again, you know. So he started doing some things the company didn't like, and I ended up canning him, you know. Well, that didn't work. I'm trying to, you know.
Not happy about that as far as that new angle again.
Huh?
Did you think that angle?
Well, you know, he didn't put his all into it, you know what I'm saying? And they didn't really have nothing for us anyway other than working with my brother, you know what I'm saying? So it got old quick. Got old real quick.
And I think you did a couple angles around this time where you did a couple angles at this time where you were helping your brother win some matches. I guess as you were a heel and he was a face and he didn't particularly like it.
Right.
Did you like that kind of stuff, or it was a different angle?
When you ask me questions about did I like something or did I dislike something, it's hard to tell. I can't remember. Stuff like that, like I said, I mean, my heart wasn't in any of this stuff. I was just doing it, you know what I'm saying? My heart wasn't in any of it. I was just working then, you know what I'm saying? My love and passion for wrestling has always been there, but my love and passion for this business, it died several years before. So I'll be the first to say I was working just to be working. You know, I just worked until I couldn't work no more, you know what I'm saying?
I guess around this time you decided to switch to being a commentator.
Well, actually, they switched me.
They switched.
I didn't want to be a commentator.
Okay.
Vince Russo wanted me to be. They wanted to do, this was another thing where they were trying to be like Vince McMahon, I guess. I guess Vince had somebody out there being a color commentator that was a professional wrestler. I can't remember who it was at the time. Was it Taz? I don't know. I can't remember. I can't remember. But that was their thing. So they want to do it. You know, as usual, biting off something instead of being the first to do something, you know, they want to copy somebody. So in the dressing rooms, when we would be watching the matches from the dressing room, I would commentate the matches for the boys and make them laugh. Because, see, back in school, I wanted to be a DJ. So I took courses and stuff for it. I used to DJ a little, you know, in clubs and stuff. So I used to, you know, do the voice thing, you know, in the clubs and stuff like that. So as the matches are playing on the monitors we got in the back, I would become Gordon Soley, or I would become Jim Ross, and I would become, you know, these legendary people, you know, that I used to come up watching and talking like them. So somebody told Vince Russo that I would be in the back. So if you're looking for a wrestler to do this, y'all better look at Stevie Ray, because, man, if he's anything in the dressing room like he is in front of the camera, it's going to be great. So Vince Russo calls me while I'm on the road and says, you got to come in for a tryout to be a commentator. I'm like, what's going on with this? I said, when? He said, Monday. I said, okay. So I guess I was just going to go to, they set up all the stuff, go in the back, pick out a room, and then try some guys out. So when I get there, Vince says, no, your tryout is in front of the camera tonight. I'm like, what? He said, no, you working tonight. So, oh, God, man. I'm like, why you guys pick me for this? You know what I'm saying? Of all people, ain't nobody said nothing to me. You know, I think I was somewhere in Utah, looking at mountains on a house show. You know what I'm saying? And when I got the call to, somebody faxed some stuff to my hotel. But anyway, so that's when I started. That's how that whole thing started, and it got, people liked it, and they kept me out there. So that's when. So I do have something. I went down in history as the first African American color commentator announcer in the professional wrestling history. So I do have that on my resume. I'm proud of that.
And then you came up with some catchphrases during that period that you.
Well, the catchphrases were always around. I just never used them on television.
Yaks. That was.
Yeah, I mean that's how I talked.
Yeah.
That's how I talk. You know, when I'm at home and I'm talking to my friends, that's how we talk. You know what I'm saying? A yak is a girl. You know what I'm saying?
That was what suckers got to know.
Right. I mean, suckers just got to know, man. I mean, you know, we talk about certain subjects and stuff like that. And I would always say it. And then they would tell me, keep saying it over the headset, And I'm like, wow, what did I say? Because a lot of times they told me to be myself. Because at first I came out talking like, kind of like journalistic talk, you know what I'm saying? And they told me, no, Stevie, that's not what we want. We want you to be yourself. I said, well, man, this kind of is myself. I don't want to be the Stevie Ray that everybody's seen used to talk all the jive on television about how I'm going to beat you up and stuff like that. I want to show another side of me. And they would say, okay, as long as you can keep it in perspective, because we want that urban side of you also. So it took me a little while, but I was able to do it to show people I'm just not an idiot, So especially when I used to bring up history events and incorporate them with wrestling. And that's something Tony Schiavone never did. Because he don't know the history of wrestling stuff like I do. And so I've not only incorporate history from wrestling, you incorporate history, period, too, like war history, stuff like that, biblical history, anything, and put it as if pertaining to something that's happening in the ring to make somebody relate to it, which gave me a, kind of made Tony Schiavone kind of respect me a little bit more, because one day he came up to me and he said, hey, man, you know a lot about a lot of things, man. I never knew that. I said, hey, thanks a lot. I said, well, I do read a little, Tony. I just wasn't born some big black guy that just liked to talk crap in the ring. He said, oh, man, I don't mean. I said, oh, I know what you mean, man. And, I'm not offended, I kind of half-ass paid attention in school, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, some of it is still in my head. I don't know. You got to bring it out, though. Kind of like what we're talking about now. It's in there, but it's got cobwebs on it, so you got to. Because somebody was wrestling one night. I can't remember who it was. They had 2 titles, and they were going for a third or something. I can't remember who that was. Somebody had 2 titles, and they were going to fight somebody for another title. I can't remember, was it Christopher Wall? I don't remember. Lance Storm. Lance Storm. And they said, well, if Lance Storm wins the title tonight, he'd be the first person. We don't know if we've ever had anybody to hold 3 titles. I can't remember the last time somebody held 3 titles in professional wrestling. And I said, Tony, it was 1973. And I said, they said, who? I said, Jose Lothario. Jose Lothario held 3 titles at one time in 1973. He held the brass knucks heavyweight belt, the North American heavyweight belt, and he was 1/2 of the tag team champion. So revision is history. So Mike Tanaka, well, thanks, Stevie, for that history lesson that we didn't know, So, stuff, little things like that, it was cool, So then we really became very good together, all 3 of us, me, Mike Tanaka, and Tony Schiavone. We became very good, and that's when people started, I guess, especially on the websites and stuff like that, saying how they like some of the stuff I was saying, and they just told me to keep going, man, it's hot, Now that I loved doing it.
You started to get a fire again back?
Huh?
You started to get your fire back?
I mean, I loved it. I loved the commentary side of it. I loved, actually, the intellectual side, of trying to tell people what's really happening from a different point of view and giving them, enlighten people on what's going on that Tony and Mike couldn't do in a lot of ways, because I lived it. Stuff like that. So we had some fun, man. God, we had some fun. That was good.
And I think you came out of retirement at this point. You took on Scott.
Yeah, I come on Scott Steiner. They called me up and said, you got to wrestle Scott Steiner. I'm like, what? I ain't been to the ring. I ain't even worked out, man. I don't do nothing but drink beer and sit in front of the TV and watch. I'm retired. I mean, I didn't do anything. I went out and did that, and I'm ending my career for good, you know what I'm saying? They was like, well, no, you're not really. I said, no. I told them, I said, I'm done. I said, I don't want to wrestle anymore. And I said, I would like to do some more of what I'm doing now. So they were trying to come up with a couple other things for me to do, like I had my own show to interview wrestlers and stuff like that. We never got them off the ground. Because I guess they knew the end was near, and whatever. Because it's like, man, you're pretty good at this. And I was like, good. And I said, I actually went to school for this for a minute, So
what were your thoughts about the death of WCW, which followed?
I thought I already told you my thoughts about that.
Well, okay. Yeah, so you said it was pretty much you were happy to see.
I was like, it's like a wounded buffalo, man. I mean, put him out of his misery.
Mhm.
I mean, in a way, like I said, in a way I was happy, but in a lot of ways I was sad, because I was sad for a lot of people that didn't deserve it. I was happy for the people that did deserve it, you know. And then secondly, I'm a competitive person when it comes to something that I like. To see the company that I really felt as though I gave a lot to get to the level that they were. For Vince McMahon's son to come out on the show and degrade us all, as far as I'm concerned, that was the biggest slap in the face. And I swear to God, if I don't hear the word WCW for the rest of my life, it wouldn't bother me not one bit. Because I'm like, I'm not a punk, and I wasn't raised a punk. So the day he stepped out on that show, I felt like the biggest punk on earth. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I shouldn't take things that serious, but, you know, I left pieces of my body all over this country, all over the world for that company. And to go out like that, they sent me tickets to go to the last show, and my brother was like, man, we ought to come down because, you know, Vince and them going to be looking at it. I said, fuck 'em. I took the ticket over to Continental Airlines, turned it into 2 tickets, and me and my buddy went to Vegas and watched the fight. That's the last, you know, I didn't care. I was like telling him I'm through with this anyway. You know, so you know, start going overseas for WWA for a while. That was great for like two and a half years of just, man, I got my juices back flowing, you know, overseas. We had such a good time. You know what I'm saying? Those guys treat you right. We had good, man. It wasn't about TV ratings and all this other stuff. It was about the show.
Having a good match.
Yeah. Exactly. And that was great. It was great. And I felt like wrestling again. I got back in shape, you know what I'm saying? It was great. Had a good time. Man, I think I got more memories in 2.5 years than 9.5 with WCW, almost 10. Yeah. I had more fun in 2.5 years than I had in almost 10 years with just going back and forth overseas with people that treated you like, with foreigners. Yeah. Not even here in the States, they're people that treated you like a king.
Some of the guys, I guess, on that tour with Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah, Jeff.
Ernest Miller.
Oh man, we had good tours every time. Different guys, but we had good tours every time. Just, man, I mean, it felt more like back when I played high school football. You know what I'm saying? It was just like you're on a bus with guys all day, going from town to town, acting a fool. Just good guys, though. You know what I'm saying? Not a lot of bull crap. You know, not guys like being in Australia and then a guy like Juventud Guerrero come out of the hotel with, you know, naked and get put in jail because he's so high and he's out of his mind. None of that kind of stuff, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I love Juventud to death. You know, he's a good guy. But I'm like, what's going on, man? This is, you know, or other situations you see people in, you know. I mean, wow, man, some of the stuff I can't even talk about on film, man. I swear to God. I mean, certain guy, you seen a guy that took so much GHB, he craps all over himself. You know what I'm saying? Right before, you know, the show starts. And this is a guy that's in charge of everything. This is crazy. Never reprimanded, never excused, never sorry, so this kind of stuff. This is unreal. Or a guy you're talking to at a table, just all of a sudden face falls in his suit because he's so high he's out of his mind. And you gotta get called from your hotel room to go get him out before somebody sees him. Man, like I said, I can't call any names that these things actually happened. You know what I'm saying? This is, wow.
Speaking of Jeff Jarrett, have you ever gotten any calls from TNA, or have you seen their products?
I mean, I watch it every blue moon. You know what I'm saying? But I don't really watch a lot of professional wrestling. You know what I'm saying? I watch. Matter of fact, the show come on a little bit too late for me. You know what I'm saying? So, but I do watch it occasionally. You know what I'm saying? Hey, I'm glad they're doing good because I'm like, what people don't realize is that I was a professional wrestler, so I'm always down with the wrestlers. I'm always down with the wrestlers. So anything that's good for the business to get the guys like myself, when I was a young guy coming up in the business, to get them some work and get them some exposure, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. And that's why I started a company to try to help guys get to the next level. Because I think that's my calling, is to try to get a product out there. I want to try to do my own product. And to try to help guys like when I was a young guy coming up in 1989, never knew where I was going to go in the business, you know, but somebody was able to look at me and say, hey, I'm going to give you, come work for me. So TNA, whatever the situation may be, if it helped young guys get exposure, then we need it because, man, it's, you know, the monopoly game has started now, whereas everything is like either here or it don't mean nothing. And I think that's just a miscarriage of justice to the people that really love professional wrestling, just like this convention we are at right now. You never should let history die. History should never die. Without history, there's no future. So nobody should be able to monopolize that and say, you should look at history on my terms only. I don't think it should be like that. So I think it's good. I think TNA and any other little regional organization, anywhere, is good.
During your career, did you and your brother at any time experience any kind of racism in wrestling as far as...
What did I just tell you what happened to us the first day we walked out in Global?
Okay.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, are you asking me about fans or are you asking me about in my personal career as far as...
I was talking more by
well, you got to be a little bit more,
yeah.
you know...
I was talking more about...
I experience racism
bookers,
every day of my life. I experience racism every day of my life, okay? So you talking about my professional career or just my everyday life?
No, your professional career, as far as bookers, people in power, not fans.
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
I think so, yes. I think we endured racism from the time we got to WCW to the time we left. You know? Mm-hmm. I mean, it was all sugar-coated, but it was still there. Just like what I said with you about Sting and Lex Luger, and when I told you about the Road Warriors, that was just blatant bigotry. That's all it was. You know, if you read between the lines. I mean, that were Eric Bischoff. I was told that Eric Bischoff said that black people don't pay money to come to the shows, so why should we cater to them? I was told this by a person that was in a meeting with him. So, I'm black, so what does that mean?
Yeah. Well, what do you feel was your best match that you had? In WCW or GWF, or one match you look back on that you feel was the most fun, the best match for the fans?
It still goes back to that match of Sturgis. For some reason, that match is and I didn't put it in my mind, but other people did. So it must have brought a lot of people a lot of joy. But my personal favorite was probably Randy Savage and Sting. That was probably the first time we ever worked them, was probably my personal favorite. Because that was when we were still doing the WCW Saturday night. Like I said, this was before all the pay-per-views and was before all the ratings wars. And man, we worked in center stage, and that place was crazy. It was so hyped that people was like, finally we're going to get to see how tough these guys really are. Well, that's when Randy Savage just came over. and it was him against Sting. And we know Ric Flair wanted us to, we know Ric Flair then wanted to fire us. You know, so they put together a match, and Mike Graham comes in and give us a finish with like 15 different things attached to it. He walks out the room. Sting, Randy Savage had a problem with Ric Flair, another guy who had a problem with Ric Flair. The light's flashing. What's that?
Oh, tape's running low.
Oh.
I got about 5 minutes though.
Okay. Randy Savage comes in. He said, "This fucking Flair, he's trying to stick it to me, man. He wants me to give." Mike Graham said, "You hit Booker T with your finish, was the elbow off the top. Booker T kicks out. Nobody kicks out of Randy Savage's move." When we heard that, we go, okay, what the fucking deal here? Then he tells us, okay, I want you to do this, and then you grab his leg, and then you do this, and then you do this, and then you go over here and do this, and then you do this, and blah, blah, blah. Then you do this, and blah, 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 and then you know, then we do the finish. How am I going to remember this? I mean, I don't have a photographic memory, and that this wasn't a photograph. Yeah. And he walks out of the room. Sting and Randy Savage look at us and go, "Man, I'm sorry, but y'all know what's up." Yeah, we know what's up. Ric Flair wants to look bad so he can go to that office. They ain't got it. So he's putting us against the two top guys in the business, in the company. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to do the same thing we did with those two guys back in Global. We went out there and made them two jokers look better than they ever looked. It was the best match. Before then, Sting was like really standoffish to us. Randy Savage, we told him, when you do that, I'll make a save, so don't worry about it. But don't hit him with the elbow. I said, hit him with a double sledgehammer. You don't care? I said, I don't know. Fuck Ric Flair. I was fed up, you know. I didn't care if they fired us or what. We go out there, we bring the house down. They couldn't get us. Can't get me, man. I'm too good. We did the 15-piece finish just like he told us. How we did it, I don't know. I told my brother, you remember half, I'll remember the other half. That's all I know. That's all we can think. And we sit there and concentrated for like an hour or so before we did, and we went out and did it. He didn't even come in and go back over it with us again. We didn't even ask him. So we got it. It wasn't him. He was Ric Flair, and then he came back and said, "Brother, I don't know how y'all did it, but y'all did it. I just want to shake your hand." This is Mike Graham. That's why I always got respect for him. But I know Ric Flair came in and told him to do it. So, and we blew the roof. I'll never forget that match. We blew the roof off this place, man. Because some people was like, they was rooting their name, and then the people in the middle would go, Heat. Heat. It was like back and forth, tit for tat. And Paul Orndorff came up to me after, and he said, because Paul used to always help me out. He said, wow, yeah. So that's the match you want. That match had a lot of significance to it. It was bigger than just a match for me and my brother. You know what I'm saying? We knew we was trying to get the okie doke. You asked me about racism, that was some more Ric Flair's bullshit, you know what I'm saying? So, and he was trying to fuck Randy Savage at the same time, so. And he didn't, we went out there and just override all his bullshit. Sometimes things overcome people's malicious bullshit, you know?
Okay, we're back. Got a couple other questions for you. What do you think of the current product today? What's going on in the WWE? How do you feel about it?
Well, you know, the product today, you don't have the veterans. You know, in every sport, you have a crop of guys that's there, and when they start to leave, they give back to the guys behind them. You don't have that anymore. Because where are the guys coming from now? Just little wrestling camps that, you know, WWE and a few other people put together and so on and so forth. If you remember back in the mid-'80s, early '80s, so many of the big territories were around. Then a lot of things migrated to, you know, Crockett or Vince. But the one thing that you had, whether it was Crockett or Vince back in those days, you had stars from the top to the bottom. If you went to an NWO show, you had the Ric Flairs, you had the Warlord, the Barbarian, As a tag team, you had the Midnight Express, Rock and Roll Express, Dusty Rhodes, Jimmy Cornette, Jimmy Garvin, Paul Hayes. Was it Paul Hayes? Paul. He's a manager, right? Paul Jones. So on and so forth, from the top to the bottom. You had stars. Vince's show. Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Ultimate Warrior, Axe and Smash, Tito Santana, blah, 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 blah. All the way down. These are two different companies with stars from the top to the bottom. And I'm talking about they look like stars. They weren't manufactured stars. They were stars because of who they were and what they had done. They weren't stars because somebody told you they were a star and then put a little, in parentheses, superstar. They were stars. They were big. That's what's lost in professional wrestling today because of the TV era. Because guys don't come up.
Sean? What? Yeah, we got 15 minutes left.
I was just letting you know they let people get 6
Oh, I know. Sorry.
That's your partner?
Yes.
Anyway, so the product today kind of watered down. Still a great show, but that's what I miss about it. Nobody's a star anymore. They're just people that you see on television. And that's the lost era of professional wrestling that, you know, that I miss. Stars.
How'd you feel about your brother going to WWF? I guess it's something he wanted. He wanted to continue. And
How did I feel about it? I mean, I really didn't have no concessions about it. I've never had any concessions about somebody else's decision to do something. So I really can't tell you how I felt. I mean,
do you feel his characters? Do you feel his character is being used correctly?
no,
Okay.
no, that's a whole nother thing. Vince McMahon would never use a black man the way he should, especially one of my brother's caliber. Never will. I mean, like the King thing he's doing now. He just looks like a clown. I mean, it's the old Al Jolson syndrome that I call it. Get a laugh out of it. I mean, or use him to, like I told a lot of people, I said, they're going to put the strap on my brother because they want Batista to get it back. You know? So who can Batista get it back from? Well, he can't get it from little bitty Rey Mysterio, so he can get away from Booker. That's Vince's way of slapping you in the face, you know what I'm saying? But, that's just the way Vince does things, you know what I'm saying?
I think part of it was because he was in WCW. He was at WCW.
Vince McMahon would never push a WCW guy. Not a WCW guy that was there when WCW closed. Now, the guys that defected from WCW, before WCW closed, he treated them like they were his guys. All the guys that came over after that, when everything closed, he just used them to make the WWF guys look good. I don't know, you guys might not can see, you guys can't see things the way I see things because it's totally different. And a friend of mine, Ernest Miller, went up to WWF, and I told him everything that was going to happen to him. Exactly, and everything had happened exactly like I told him. He said, you tried to tell me. I said, I ain't trying to tell you not to go. I'm just going to try to tell you this is how these guys do things. You use the guys as props, and then they don't want to pay them because there's no competition anymore to pay guys. A top guy in WWE might be making $200,000. In essence, $200,000 ain't nothing as compared to the kind of revenue that it's bringing in now with all the television contracts. A guy made $200,000 years ago when he was just, with Crockett in a regional area. You could make that with less the bills and less, you know what I'm saying, less the overhead. You could take most of it home. Well, nowadays you don't take most of it home. You just don't. So I'm like, that's criminal. But if you have no competition, and that's the thing people don't understand, it's good for a guy like Vince McMahon, but it's bad for the boys. The boys need competition to work because now you got something that can combat. Like when WCW combated Vince, contracts went up. When the AFL came in and combated the NFL, contracts went up. When the ABA came in and combated the NBA, contracts went up. You need it.
I guess we're coming to the close. We wanted just to have you say anything to your fans that have supported you over the years, who are going to purchase this and hear from you. If you want to say something to them for this.
If anybody purchased this DVD on Stevie Ray and his career, I hope you enjoyed it because all the years that I wrestled, I enjoyed each and every fan that came up to me and asked me for my autograph or asked me for a picture or I have taken a picture and all that because it's the fans that make this business thrive. Don't ever give up on us. Professional wrestling was a love I had deep in my heart, and I know a lot of fans